Okay, so are you ready to get the full picture of this Arsenal match? Their Champions League clash with Monaco. We're going to dig into all the exciting details from the Independent's live blog and the match report.
Oh, yeah. Definitely a lot to unpack there.
Definitely high stakes.
Huge.
A crucial group stage match.
Yeah.
Arsenal absolutely needing that knockout spot.
Yeah.
So did they make it? Did they pull it off?
Well, Arsenal fans are over the moon right now celebrating that 3-0 win. But I've got to say, looking at the match report, it wasn't a walk in the park, despite what that scoreline might suggest.
Oh, so there was a little bit of drama.
There was a bit.
I like that. Okay, so the Independent did mention some early nerves, right?
Yeah.
Was there a missed opportunity for Monaco there?
Yeah, they definitely took a while to settle in, and Monaco, well, they just couldn't quite capitalize. Makes you think, did Monaco miss a real chance to shake Arsenal up early on, or did the Gunners just have that mental toughness to power through?
That mental game is so important. It's easy to see the final score and think, oh, total domination. But as always, there's more to the story.
Oh, for sure.
Okay, let's talk about the guy who set that scoreboard on fire. Bukayo Saka. 2 goals, and the Independent, they weren't holding back. Called it a special Bukayo Saka. So beyond just finding the net, what really impressed you about his performance?
His movement was incredible. Honestly, Saka wasn't just, in the right place at the right time. He was creating those chances. The Independent even pointed out that he's playing with a new level of confidence, and you can just see it in his tactical awareness.
Yeah, it's like he's reading the play before it even happens. The match report talked about one moment where he just completely outfoxed Monaco's defender, cut inside, boom, goal.
Yeah.
Pure skill.
Exactly. That's what separates, a good player from a truly great one, that ability not just to react, but to actually anticipate and dictate the flow of the game.
Okay, let's talk about that second goal. A little bit of luck involved there, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah. You could definitely say that Monaco's keeper, Radosesha Majeki, had a moment to forget there. A real howler of an error gifted it straight to Saka, who, of course, made no mistake. But even with the blunder, you got to give Saka credit. His positioning, his awareness were spot on. He was ready for that opportunity.
You always got to be ready to capitalize on an opponent's mistake.
Yeah.
A classic lesson.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's move on to something else that was super exciting. A Champions League debut for 18-year-old Myles Lewis-Skelly. What were your thoughts on his performance?
Oh, he was fantastic, especially considering he was playing out of position at left back. This wasn't just a kid getting a few minutes on the pitch. He was really involved, even instrumental in that first goal. And the praise he got from Saka, this is his level, I have no doubts. I mean, that says it all.
High praise coming from a player like Saka. It sounds like Arsenal might have a real gem on their hands. Does this speak to the strength of their youth development program?
Yeah.
Are we going to see more young talent like Lewis-Skelly coming up through the ranks?
That's the big question. Arsenal has a history of nurturing incredible young players, and Lewis-Skelly's performance definitely suggests that the pipeline is still flowing.
Exciting times for Arsenal fans for sure. Let's switch gears a bit and talk about tactics. The Independent mentioned that Arsenal implemented a really aggressive high press, suffocating Monaco's attempts to build from the back. Did that stand out to you at all?
It absolutely did. It was a masterclass in controlling the tempo and the flow of the game. They just didn't let Monaco settle, forcing rushed passes and poor decisions. You could see the frustration building in those Monaco players as the match went on.
It sounds like Arsenal had a clear plan and executed it flawlessly. Were there any other tactical nuances that impressed you?
I was particularly struck by the way Arsenal shifted their formation seamlessly between attack and defense. It was so fluid and dynamic, kept Monaco guessing the whole time.
So not just physical dominance, but a tactical victory for Arsenal as well. This win felt like a real statement from Arteta and the team.
Oh, absolutely. It shows a level of maturity and tactical flexibility that we haven't always seen from Arsenal in the past. They weren't relying on just individual moments of brilliance. They were playing as a cohesive unit, everybody understanding their role.
It sounds like this performance had it all. But before we go overboard praising Arsenal, let's talk about where this win leaves them in the Champions League standings. It was a make-or-break game for their knockout stage hopes, wasn't it?
Oh, huge. This puts them in a much stronger position. But the race is far from over. This group is unbelievably tight.
This is going to be a nail-biter.
Oh, yeah. With
Yeah.
several teams all still fighting for those top 8 spots.
Okay, so we'll unpack all of that after a quick break. We'll be right back with more on Arsenal's Champions League journey.
Yeah, it really is anyone's game at this point. This win does bump Arsenal up to 3rd place in their group,
Right.
but the margins are so tiny.
Wow.
You've got this whole cluster of teams from 3rd down to 8th, all tied on 13 points.
That is insane.
Yeah.
So every single point in these last few matches is going to be absolutely crucial.
Absolutely. And it gets even more nerve-wracking when you realize ninth place is right behind them with 11 points.
Oh, wow.
And even 19th isn't completely out of it at 10 points. Only the top 8 teams make it through to the knockout stages, remember?
Talk about pressure. So who does Arsenal have left to play in their final 2 matches?
Yeah.
Any big names looming?
They're up against Dinamo Zagreb and Girona.
Oh.
Not exactly the giants of European football.
Yeah, on paper, it seems like Arsenal should be able to handle those matchups pretty comfortably.
Yeah.
But I think the Independent did warn against complacency, right?
So, yeah, absolutely.
Right.
In a group this tight, any slip-up could be fatal. These last 2 matches are basically knockout games in disguise. They can't afford to relax.
Right, every game is a must-win now, which is easier said than done after such a commanding performance like they had against Monaco. You know, there's always that temptation to kind of ease up a little.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But that's where the mental strength comes in. A really strong team uses a win like this to build momentum, not to get complacent. And based on what we saw against Monaco, especially how they dealt with those early nerves, it seems like this Arsenal team has got that mental resilience.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's about channeling that confidence and that intensity into these last couple of matches. Okay, let's zoom out a little bit and look at the bigger picture. The Independent said that this win shows a clear route forward for Arsenal.
What do you think they mean by that? Does this mean that Arsenal is finally ready to really compete at the top level, not just in the Premier League, but in the Champions League too?
That's a big question, isn't it? I think what the Independent is getting at is that this wasn't some fluke victory. You know, Arsenal played with a level of maturity and tactical intelligence that suggests they've really turned a corner.
So not just a lucky win, not just a goalkeeper's mistake, gifting them the points. They really earned this one. Exactly. And let's not forget that incredible debut from young Myles Lewis-Skelly, too. I mean, that wasn't just youthful energy. He showed real composure and tactical awareness beyond his years. That, combined with Saka continuing to grow and the team's overall discipline, it paints a pretty exciting picture for Arsenal's future.
Yeah, it's like everything's starting to click.
Yeah.
The talented young players coming through, the experienced players performing at a high level. And Arteta, he seems to have finally found the winning formula. Is it too early to start talking about Arsenal as potential Champions League contenders?
It's never too early to dream. But realistically, the Champions League, it's a marathon, not a sprint. There are still plenty of challenges ahead and some seriously tough opponents waiting for them in the later rounds.
True, but that's what makes it so compelling, right? We're watching a team on the rise. It's going to be fascinating to see just how far they can go.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what makes this stage of the Champions League so exciting. This group stage is all about survival. But it also gives us a glimpse of which teams have what it takes to make a deep run. And based on this performance, Arsenal is definitely in that conversation.
So as we wrap up our deep dive on this match, what are the key takeaways you want our listeners to remember? What are the things they should be thinking about as they follow Arsenal's journey in this Champions League?
I think there are 3 big things. First, Arsenal is evolving. This isn't the same team that struggled in the Champions League before. They're playing with more confidence, tactical discipline, and a much clearer sense of who they are. Second, Bukayo Saka is the real deal. He's gone from talented youngster to a real leader, a game changer, the heart of this Arsenal attack. And finally, never underestimate the power of youth. Myles Lewis-Skelly's performance is a perfect example. Sometimes the most exciting stories come from unexpected places.
That's a great way to put it. And I think that brings us to the end of our deep dive into this Arsenal-Monaco clash.
It's been quite a ride, hasn't it? From those early nerves to some brilliant tactical displays, from a goalkeeper's blunder to a teenager's dream debut.
We haven't just talked about what happened on the pitch.
Well,
We've gone deeper looking at the tactics, the individual performances, and what it all means for Arsenal going forward.
And of course, we can't forget that incredibly tense Champions League group stage. Every point matters, and Arsenal's journey is far from over.
But before we let you go, listener, we want to leave you with one final thought. The